Hey there YouTube, this is Kristen. Yesterday I attended the second hearing in the Nikki Araguz case. Yesterday I uploaded a video with my observations of the trial. I also made a prediction. My prediction said, the media will spin it so it sounds like Nikki was forced to acquiesce and release cash to the kids and that the other side won a bunch of concessions. So that was my prediction, working from my hypothesis that the media has a certain narrative it wants to spin, and that narrative is that transgender people are inherently deceptive. So I wanted to review some of the things that the media has in fact said. So most of the news that I reviewed was technically correct. It was just in its presentation that was, well, it gave a certain impression that wasn't entirely in line with the reality of what happened in court. So first up is 39 News. The news report was okay. There are a couple of things that I would want to kind of correct, at least add context to. The first, it says, Judge Randy Clapp agreed Monday to appoint Thomas Araguz's mother, Simona Longoria, as the personal administrator of the Araguz estate. Clapp also authorized release of the firefighter's death certificate to Delgado's attorneys. The document will allow Longoria to begin receiving funds for her grandchildren. The ruling was the latest development in an ongoing battle between the widow of Captain Thomas Araguz and his parents and ex-wife.
Today the court took the step of appointing the administrator of the estate to facilitate the distribution of any funds that would be payable in part to the children, which is a desperate need for the kids.
Now this is a bit of spin right here. Yes, Simona Longoria is the administrator of Thomas Araguz's estate. This estate does not include the benefits, the $300,000 that the children would receive. That's separate. What he's saying in here is, let's say Thomas had a television and that television was sold. The money from that sale would go to the children. What he successfully did in this spin was make it sound like Simona is going to be in charge of all of the funds that would go to the children.
We got that handled. They appointed Thomas's mother as the administrator of the estate so that she can start to handle that business. We're just trying to get that facilitated. Again, like I said, just try to move that as fast as we can to get to the children, because none of that's in dispute in this case.
So as a result of today's actions in court, the children, the wheels are in motion to get the children their $300,000.
Absolutely. The first step in any probate proceeding before you can start to administer any funds out of that would be to appoint the administrator or personal representative. However, most of the benefits will be of what they call a non-testamentary kind. They don't have to pass through the estate. They are benefits. So, but what happens when litigation occurs is that just necessarily parties become a little timid about, taking actions because they want to make sure that everything's handled appropriately. So we're trying to alleviate any of that. There's no roadblocks on our part, and so anything we can do to put them at ease or make them feel like there's no liability on their part, we'll just have to do that, because that's just not an issue for us.
So is Thomas's mother going to be administrator of the $300,000 going to the children, or is it strictly his personal belongings?
No, she's just in charge of the estate as it is. We're not sure exactly what the amount of funds is that's going to be in. I mean, Thomas and Nikki were not wealthy people, so the estate, as I understand it, is not very large to begin with.
The other bit of spin is that it kind of sounds as if the judge had handed down this ruling that Simona would be the executor and that the benefits would start to go to the children, when in fact he simply signed off on an order. It wasn't. This agreement was reached way before he got it in his hands. In other words, to make it clear, Nikki Araguz's lawyers have been working with Frank Mann and Ed Burwell to ensure that those funds, which are separate from Thomas's estate, get into the hands of the children ASAP. They presented that to the judge, and the judge simply signed off on it. So, I mean, the context tells a little bit of a different story. What they reported was technically, factually correct. They just didn't explain to you that the money that would be going to the children that Simona has a say over is not, in fact, the $300,000. That money is going to the children because Nikki Araguz and her lawyers are working with Frank Mann and Ed Burwell to ensure that that money gets into the hands of the children ASAP.
Simona Longoria, Mr. Araguz's mother, was appointed by agreement of parties as the administrator of the estate.
Now let's turn to the Beaumont Enterprise. The report was actually quite good, but again, it leaves out the context of what Longoria will be actually administrating. It sounds as if, even though they say any monetary benefits paid to the children through this estate and her late son's property, such as his vehicle, badge, and gun, it doesn't make it crystal clear that the mother-in-law is not actually overseeing the $300,000. So the Houston Chronicle was actually pretty good. The only problem that it had was, again, not making really clear that Simona Longoria would not be in charge of the $300,000 for the children. I also want to speculate a little bit on why Frank Mann and Ed Burwell were not willing to talk about how much the children would get. The reason I think they were not willing to talk about that is because they have, I think, plans for that money themselves. They have to be paid. And I think that they're going to take a sizable chunk out of that money for the kids. Again, this goes back to my original argument that this is just all insane. It really is, and I think that Heather Delgado didn't think through much of anything when she filed this. If she didn't file it, she would get $300,000. Now that she has filed it, she has to win in order to retain that $300,000. So if she wins, and let's say there's $600,000, the lawyers are going to take about half, I think, leaving her with about the same that she started out with. Now if she loses, the lawyers are still going to take a sizable chunk of the children's benefits, and I think that they're going to go ahead and take their money ASAP. So again, I just think that I think that Simona Longoria and Heather Delgado are acting out of emotion and not anything close to rational thought. Now it's worth noting that Simona Longoria is now legally responsible to distribute Thomas Araguz's estate according to law. Now, it's my opinion that Simona Longoria has a lot of animosity for Nikki. And I would be surprised if Simona Longoria's emotions will allow her to adhere to the letter of the law when distributing Thomas Araguz's estate. And that's a problem that may come back and bite her in the butt later on. I don't think that anyone sat down with Simona Longoria and said, look, okay, if you're going to be the administrator of the estate, you're putting yourself in this legal noose. And if you're really angry, and if you don't follow the letter of the law in disposing of Thomas's estate, you could be looking at being in some legal hot water. I don't think anyone's had that discussion. We'll see how that plays out. So the other couple of stories that I saw, ABC 13 did actually a good, simple, direct, to the point, factual story. And out of all the stories that I've read, it was the best. So I guess that kind of wraps up my review of the media that I've personally seen, and I guess my 2 cents on the whole issue. So thanks for watching, and please share your opinions, your thoughts. I'm interested to know about what you think, and I'll do my best to keep you informed on this case, a case which may wind up affecting every transgender person's life who was either born in Texas or lives here in Texas. Please keep yourselves abreast of what happens. I will do my best to ensure that you're getting a different perspective on what's going on.